worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, moving in our midst. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, working in this place. I worship you. I worship you. Hey, we make a miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. We make a miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. My God, that is who you are. You are here, touching every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, healing every heart. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, turning lives around. I worship you. I worship you. You are here, mending every heart. I worship you. I worship you. Hey, hey, we make a miracle worker, promise keeper, light in the darkness. That is who you are.
Good afternoon, everyone. This is your friend Gilbert Franklin, bringing information, the type of information that's going to make a great difference in your life. And the type of information what we're talking about is information about retirement benefits, information about Medicare, information about low-income subsidy, which is help with your prescription drug. We got a lot of information that once you stay, once you become a listener, once you become someone that a loyal listener, I guarantee you that you will acquire a lot of information that will make a big change in your life. My name is Gilbert Franklin. You could always reach me at 954-667-4885, 954-667-4885. Today we at the studio down Miami. And there's a lot of great things that's happening. So first of all, before we get started with the show, let me remind you guys, if you guys are not doing anything this Friday, if you have something planned, cancel your plan. This Friday, we're going to be right here. We will be broadcasting live from 3 to 4. But afterward, there's an inauguration that's happening right there, big celebration. So we invite every one of you guys to come down and participate with us at the station, which is the address is 1520 Northeast 162nd Street, and that's in North Miami Beach, Florida. For more information, you could reach out to me or you could call the station, and they will give you more information regarding that. Just Google WSRF 1580, and I think it's worth for you to come down and see exactly where the magic is being done. There's a lot of very talented people on this radio station that's bringing you different type of information, different type of entertainment. So really, they all gonna be here. All the hosts, the different type of shows that's here, all of them will be there this Friday. The celebration is going to start at around 5 o'clock and until I don't know 8, 9, I don't know, but I will be here. So come down and spend the time with us, and we would really appreciate that. So, also, don't forget, right now we are streaming live on YouTube. If you type WSRF 1580 AM, just one without any space, you will check us out live. We're on both YouTube and Facebook. Once you get on YouTube, subscribe. It's very important. You're getting this information, but subscribe so that you could continue to get the same information on a weekly basis, so you never miss a beat. Okay. Now, without further ado, let's get started with the information that we are going to bring to you today. And normally, when I bring a topic to discuss, it's normally it happened because it's someone that I encountered during the week that had a question about that particular subject. We had a young lady that visited me at the center, and her story is really remarkable. This lady, she is at her age, she's receiving a Medicare benefits, she's receiving her retirement benefits, but her retirement benefits is not sufficient. She's receiving $500 actually right now partly because she took an early retirement, and at the same time she's working at McDonald's. Now, when she told me she's working at McDonald's, the first thing that came to my mind, out of all the jobs that I have done, I worked at McDonald's when I was 17 maybe. Yeah, I would say 17. And the reason that I took the job at McDonald's at the time, because my mom in Haiti called me and she said she needs money. So at the time, I went out and looked for a job so that I could send money to her to Haiti. And I would tell you that by far it is the hardest job that I ever had. I was on the grill, and at one point they put me on maintenance. When I tell you that it was the hardest job that I ever had. Everything else after that was really cupcake. What I'm doing now is really a walk in the park in comparison to that. And although I complain about this job that I do now, because I was just telling some colleague that when I do a 2-hour show, I'm exhausted. I'm done. So this lady is working at McDonald's, and she can't drive. She has to take a bus there. She has some children, and they are not available to take her, drop her off to McDonald's. So I say to her, she came to me and I said, okay, I will help you. And I asked her if she's a U.S. citizen. She told me no. I said, that's okay. I'm going to help you with that. And once I help you with that, then what we're going to do, we're going to apply for SSI. With SSI now, as soon as you get SSI, which SSI is going to give you an additional income that's going to bring it up to about $914. So at that time, you could stop working at McDonald's. She was like, oh, my son, I thank you already, because I don't feel like I could work there anymore. So this whole week we've been talking about people who are working that's making less than $800, getting less than $800 from Social Security. You too are eligible for getting SSI, and I'm gonna go into, first of all, what SSI is, and of course, whenever you're receiving help from the federal government, there's certain condition that comes along with it. Now, I don't want you to automatically say that those conditions now, the government is trying to take over my control of my life. No, I've heard that a number of times. I really don't want to hear it. What I want to concentrate on is how to help you to make money, get the type of help that you need, and so that you can sustain your life without not having to worry about whether this amount is sufficient, and for you to be able to live decently. Okay, so let me tell you what SSI is. SSI is a benefits from the federal government, which basically when the federal government comes out with a particular benefit that's there to help you as a citizen of the United States, it's usually twofold. Because what they thinking about, well, we're going to take this money and put it there, which is the taxpayers' money. We're going to put it there so that it could help those that are unable to help themselves. But at the same token, that they see it as a way to boost up the economy. So I'll put it in a different way. When you're receiving $914 a month, well, then you're also eligible for food stamps and Medicaid. Well, the food stamp you're getting, you're going to go to the local market and you're going to spend money there. The extra money that you get, you're going to spend it within your area, and that in turn is going to boost the economy. So it's helping both ways. Now, you probably hear from the elected officials saying, well, especially from the Republican side, they say, well, it's an entitlement benefits. It's an entitlement benefits. Well, the entitlement benefits are benefits to all Americans, all residents of the United States, because it's going to keep the economy going, and it's going to do some great thing within our own community. It's going to grow the small business. So there's an important for it there. Now, SSI really, it's like I said, it's a federal government benefits, but it was placed under Social Security. So Social Security could monitor and administer those benefits. The regulation for SSI, first of all, you have to be 65 years or older for you to be eligible to receive SSI. The other person that's eligible to receive SSI is if you are disabled, you're eligible to receive SSI. Now, with the disability, we're going to get into that in a minute, how those that are disabled can receive SSI, but they also could receive benefits from their parents. If it's a children that's become disabled before the age of 22, then they'll be able to receive benefits from their parents. Okay? So that we'll go more into that in a little while. So let's continue in that same mode. So now, today we're going to concentrate on those of you that's receiving less than $800 from Social Security. First of all, we talk about you have to be 65 and older for you to be eligible to receive SSI benefits. The second requirement is that you have to be a U.S. citizen. Now, let's stay right there because the age 65, it's a given, so I don't have to elaborate much on that. You just have to be 65. We can't do anything about it. If you're not disabled, that's it. But the U.S. citizen part, we could do something about that. Because you could become a U.S. citizen where basically you're not spending not much money is coming out of your pocket for you to become a U.S. citizen. I won't go into all the details today on how you could achieve that. I'll try to give you as much information I could possibly can. But and meanwhile, I do want to hear from you. Please call on 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580, ou bien 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. So if you call and you want to speak Creole, I'll translate your Creole into English so that our listeners doesn't miss a beat. But if you could speak English, I would prefer you ask your question in English. But nevertheless, we want to take anyone that they have a question regarding SSI. Please call 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580, or 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. Lina ouvre pour début kounya. The line is open for you right now with your questions. Okay? So, U.S. citizen. I personally, we had decided that many years ago that once I learned how to do that application, that I would make sure it's available to all my patients. The reason I say all my patients, because, when I first started, there's a gentleman, God rest his soul, he's no longer with us. He came to me when I first started doing it, and that was around 2009, 2010, around that area. And he said, yes, no problem. I will stay in the clinic. I will stay around. And of course, we had this doctor that came in, fill out the applications, and he was able to go, did not take the exam, and we fill out the N400, which is the citizenship application for him, without any cost to him. So we were very successful. He became a U.S. citizen, and shortly after that, he was gone like lightning. And I said, that's okay. We didn't reach out to him. We just said, all right, that's okay. And then we didn't get discouraged. We continued to do the work, and the work continued to pay it off. So, but one thing we always say that we're going to reserve it for our patients only. Because then when it's reserved for our patients only, our condition is that, yes, we could help you, but you have to be a member. Having said that, so most people that comes in that wants to be a member, we help them. And you don't have to, even if you, and we'll go into the second part, even if you don't have Medicare or you have not worked, we could do the same for you too. Whereas you could become a U.S. citizen, and we go through the whole process. I'm sure most of the people that I'm concentrating on right now, they are already U.S. citizen. But so to continue with that, so you have to be a U.S. citizen. So there's a way we'll file the application for you if you're not a U.S. citizen. We'll do a waiver so that you don't pay the application fee. And if you have problem retaining information, we could send you to see a psychiatrist. So the psychiatrist will document whether you have a problem retaining new information, and whatever diagnosis he comes up with afterward, after all his examination. So we'll help you with that process, and it is absolutely basically zero to no cost to you. Zero to no cost. That's about the same thing. So there's not much cost involved with that. The third thing is that regulation that they have. If you are receiving SSI and there's any change within your household, you must report that to to Social Security within 10 business days. Now, what kind of change are we talking about? I remember one time we had a gentleman that called me and said, well, you talk about changes. I rent a room. So if the owner of the house, some change happened in their lives, do I need to report it? Well, the answer to that, no. Because what we're talking about, anything pertaining to you. So if you rent a room from someone, then anything outside that room have nothing to do with you. But anything inside that room, that's your issue. So let's take for example, if you're renting a room and then all of a sudden you meet someone and that person moves in with you, and they are working or they're receiving Social Security, well, that's an additional income that comes in. So, for example, for a couple, then the limit for Social Security for a person that's in SSI, it's $1,371. $1,371. So, which means that, sorry about that, which means that you cannot exceed $1,371. So automatically that happens. Social Security going to send you a letter and tells you, well, we overpaid you. So you have to pay back some money. Now, obviously that's not going to be the case. The fact that, one, you have the information, you know better now. Two, if it's an individual, then your limit is $914, and we'll get more into that. So any change that's made, whether you get married, whether whatever it is, before you get into trouble, you report it. Make sure if it's an adjustment they're going to make in your payment, and that adjustment will be made where it does not cost you anything. The fourth thing is that, I don't know if is it the third or the fourth? But nevertheless, the other thing is that you cannot leave the United States for more than 29 days. Now, if you go on site or Google SSI regulation, it's going to say 30 days, not 29 days. But I'm telling you 29 days, the reason for is if you decide to go, well, I usually use Haiti as an example. But you could go in anywhere, any country, and if there's an act of God, you may not be able to fly out the same day. You may have to spend the night at the airport, and the next day you fly out. So if you decide you say, well, I want to enjoy the full time I'm there. So instead of 29 days, I want to stay there for 30 days. And on the 30th day, you decided, well, you go to the airport. When you get to the airport, there's a storm in Miami or in Fort Lauderdale, for example, or wherever you may be in the United States. You're not able to, a flight's not able to come in. So now they're going to cancel your flight, and you're going to get on the plane the next day. Well, if it's the 30th day, which means that you're going to get on the plane the 31st day, 31 days. Now, automatically you on 31 days, you've already violated the regulation. And the penalty for that is that a year from now or 6 months from now, however many times that you have left for them to interview you on a yearly basis, they will call you in to interview you. One of the things that they'll ask you to bring is your passport. They'll actually bring your passport, and they'll verify the passport. And from the passport, they'll see that you were out of the country for more than 30 days. Automatically, from the time that you violated the regulation to the time that the interview was done, let's say, for example, it's a year. So they pay you for a whole entire year from the time you violate the regulation to the time that they interview. So all that money they're going to ask you to refund. They're going to ask you to refund them the money. One thing that I saw in a recently is that they even include a credit card. Now, anybody that's an SSI most likely will not have a credit card, but they include a credit card which you could put that on a credit card so you could refund that money, or you could send them a check for that entire amount. Now, you could also negotiate with them where this is how much I could afford on a monthly basis, and send whether it's $20, however it is, until they get the full amount. Now, granted, especially now, if we do the math, if we calculate based on for math's sake, we're going to say $900. Okay, so we're talking about $10,800 that you would have to return. You know, I'm trying to take the 914 out so the math could come much easier. So you're looking at $10,800 a year for that year that you have to return back. How are you going to do that? But if you follow what I'm telling you exactly to the T, instead of 30 days, 29 days, if you get to the airport on the 29th day, and they say there's no flight out, the next flight is tomorrow because there's problem in the United States. We can't get a flight to come fly in. Now on the 30th day, you were able to get a flight out, so now you didn't violate the regulation. So you within the scope of their regulation. 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. Let me hear from you. Now, because if I'm going to talk for all this time, I need to hear from you also. So anyway, so that aspect of it, 29 days, you cannot exceed 29 days outside of the United States. Now, when we said outside of the United States, we're not talking about territories. So if you travel to Puerto Rico, for example, well, Puerto Rico is considered of U.S. territories. Guam, for example, is considered U.S. territory. Hawaii is considered a U.S. territory. I believe the U.S. Virgin Island may be considered part of the U.S. territory also. And if somebody wanted to call me and correct me on that, you're welcome. So anywhere that's U.S. territory, you could go there and spend 6 months to a year. It's not going to be an issue. But it's when you go outside of U.S. territory, that's when it's an issue. 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580, femme tando. Okay? So these are the regulation. There's one more. The other one is that in terms of assets, and see, they put it as assets. They didn't put it as money in the bank, but they put it as assets. In terms of assets, as an individual, you cannot exceed $2,000 in a bank. As a couple, you cannot exceed $3,000 in a bank. Now, that's where it gets tricky. Let's say, for example, you have a life insurance policy, and it's a whole life policy. Well, whole life has what we call a cash value. The way that works is that every time that you pay your policy, they withdraw a percentage of that of the premium that you paid, and they've set aside a certain amount for the cash value. Now, ordinarily, it takes the cash value about 3 years for it to grow to a sum. It's not that much. So if you have $1,000 sitting there in their life on their policy as cash value, that they consider that $1,000 towards your assets, because at any time you could go in and borrow that $1,000. Although you're going to be paying an interest on it, so that $1,000 considered part of an asset. So now you have to make sure that you don't exceed $1,000 in the bank. And in a lot of cases, what they will do is go back and they probably reduce the amount that you'll be receiving from SSI. So you want to make sure that the asset value is exactly where it's supposed to be, so that you're not violating their rules and regulations. 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. Let me hear from you. So those are the regulations for SSI. Now, the way it's going to work is this way. You will continue to receive your Social Security benefits. Let's say, for example, your Social Security benefits is $500. Well, now your SSI benefits going to be $400. Let's say $400. So now you're going to be receiving $900 a month. One check, it will say the SSA for $500, which is your retirement benefits, and the other check is going to say SSI, which is the SSI benefits. Now, so you're going to receive it in 2 different dates. Here's the thing. In the past 2 years, you guys receive, well, when I mean you guys, anyone that's receiving retirement benefits, SSI, veteran benefits, or disability benefits, you had a total about 15% of increase. Now, when your retirement benefits increase, obviously now the SSI benefit is going to decrease. And they will write you and tell you, due to, they may put it as the increase in Social Security benefits, your SSI benefit is going to be decreased. And during the time, it's the same thing for food stamp. Your food stamp, the fact that your Social Security benefits increase, your food stamp is going to decrease. Now, for those of you guys that just receiving SSI benefits, you're not receiving a retirement benefit, just the SSI benefits, that's not going to affect you. You're going to get an increase on your SSI benefits. But the one that's receiving a Social Security benefits, you will receive an increase in your Social Security benefits, but not on the SSI. The SSI will decrease. So, having said that, I think I need to take a break. And when I return, we're going to get more into that, and hopefully you have questions. If you have questions, we'll take them. And we'll come back with more information. You listen to Source of Information with Gilbert Franklin. The English version. Listen, as you can see, I'm getting much more comfortable with the English version. For some reason, although, listen, I don't know why I was nervous when I was doing the show, but we're getting more comfortable. So we'll be back in a few minutes. You listen to Source of Information with Gilbert Franklin. Talk to you in a little while, I think. Let's cue in the music. Discover some additional information here, so I want to share it with you guys. This is directly from the website of Social Security website. It says generally the maximum federal SSI benefits amount changes yearly. SSI benefit increased in 2023 because there was an increase in the CPI, Consumer Price Index, from the third quarter of 2021. The third quarter of 2022, effective January 1st, 2023, well, all of you guys had received an 8.7%, and which that was able to bring the rate to $914 for an individual and $1,371 for a couple. Now, some states supplement the federal SSI benefit with additional payments. This makes the total SSI benefits level high in those states. SSI benefits amount and state supplement payment amounts may vary based upon your income, living arrangement, and other factors. Now, no state supplement, the following state or territories do not pay a supplement to people who receive SSI: Arizona, Arkansas, Mississippi, and North Dakota. Social Security administered supplement. Social Security administered the state supplement for the following states. You may contact us about your total benefits: California, Iowa, and New Jersey. You have, there's more. Did I miss? Well, yeah, before I missed some. Let me go back. We'll continue. So the one let's go back. The state that has a supplement to people who receive SSI, I'll go back. It's Arizona, Arkansas, Mississippi, North Dakota, Northern Mariana Islands, Tennessee, and West Virginia. So apparently the state actually supplemented. So what it means, basically, the state will add something additional to your SSI benefits. Okay, so somebody in those areas probably receive more than $914. Hey, that's very good. The state that do not supplement, Social Security Administration state supplement for the following state, you may contact us. Those are no state supplement that I mentioned. So no, they're not receiving anything additional. They're receiving the maximum, which is $914. The state that supplement, however, are the following. State supplement for the following state: California, Iowa, New Jersey, Delaware, Michigan, Pennsylvania, District of Columbia, Montana, Rhode Island, Hawaii, Nevada, Vermont. Now, dual administration state, in these states, Social Security administered some categories of state supplement payments, while the state administers other categories of supplemental payments. So they are getting something additional. Those states I just mentioned are getting something additional on top of what they're receiving. Now, the following state pay and administer their own supplemental payments, and you may contact the state for payment information. That's a long list. We won't get into it. Florida is part of it. For my friends in New York, they're part of it. So those states pay and administer their own SSI, supplemental payments, and you may contact them for payments information. So, and we can understand why. Let's elaborate on this for a little while. I could see New York, for example. The cost of living in New York is much higher than it is in South Florida, and Florida as a whole. So we could see why the state was supplemented. Florida has its own issue. We won't get into it because although Florida is not as high as New York, although it is, I was having a discussion with a patient earlier how the price of the rental properties are getting increasing at a ridiculous rate. So SSI supplemental payment will come very handy there. That was very nice. That was some good information that we discovered. 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. Listen, any information that I bring to you, I make sure it's verified because I go straight to the source. And there's no other better source than Social Security Administration regarding that. anything regarding SSI. There's you know, it gives every single information that you need to do. Now, how do you apply for SSI? I'm sure if you guys was calling, that's probably one of the questions that you will be asking. Well, the way you apply for SSI is you have to call the Social Security Administration, and they will schedule an interview for you over the phone. Now, since COVID, a lot has changed. Now you're able to get an interview over the phone instead of going there to the office. I was talking to someone, they said even when you go down to the office, a lot of changes has made there. There's less people there, and you go in and out with no problem. But also the second choice, you could go to the offices, one of your local office, and they will take all the information. If there's an additional information that you need to send them, they will have you send the additional information or drop it off to them. And within a short period of time that they will see whether you're eligible or not. Now remember, SSI does not require for you to work a certain amount to have 40 quarters. No. Your retirement benefits does not require that if you go to Haiti, for example, or outside the United States, your retirement benefit doesn't limit you on the number of days that you spend outside the United States. Only SSI. Because I don't want you guys to call me and say, well, I'm receiving retirement benefits. Do I have a limit, the amount of time that I have to stay? If I go on vacation, can I stay for 3 months? Yeah. If you only receiving retirement benefits, but if you're receiving retirement benefits plus SSI, no, because the minute that you're receiving SSI, you have that limitation also on the number of days that you could spend outside the United States. Okay? So I want to make sure I make that part clear to you guys. The minute that you're receiving SSI, those regulations that I mentioned at the beginning, those regulations pertain to you. So we want to make sure that we respect those rules and regulations. I'll give you an example. There was a couple that I was helping, and they were in the center, and the husband is receiving SSI, and the wife decided, well, she could still work, and she's going to do a part-time. Well, eventually what they did, they wrote them and said, okay, we pay you this amount, and your wife worked, and she made X amount. So now, technically, this is the amount that you were supposed to receive. So we overpaid you. So when he came to me and said, Gilbert, I don't understand what they're talking about, that they overpaid me. I said, bring the letter and we'll sit down, we'll go over it. And sure enough that, when Social Security is withdrawing money from you, they have a page where they're going to break it down for you to the T. So here's the reason why you owe us, and this is how we're going to collect. So I was able to explain that to him, and we discussed about there's no way you could appeal it. The option is there, but when the explanation they give you is straight in front of you in black and white, this is the amount in May that you made, or the household that came in addition to the additional income to the household. This is the amount in June, this amount in July, and this is the amount that you should receive after we deduct the amount that came to the house. So let me put it another way. So if in terms of a couple, one couple is working and decided, even if it's a part-time, that amount now is going to go in the total income that comes into the house. That's going to include the income that you receive from SSI and or retirement benefits, and then they're going to minus an amount, however they calculate it, and they're going to tell you, based on the amount of income that came into the house for May, this is the amount that you should be receiving. So you need to, yes, it's good that you're eligible for SSI, or you could be eligible for SSI. So that's going to be a way to help you, but also you got to be mindful of the regulation, the rules and regulation, so that down the line you don't have to return any money. You don't have to, if you know that you can't spend more than a certain times out of the country, why would you do it? You could always spend 29 days and then come back. They're not going to stop you if you go back later on, in a couple of months later, and spend another 29 days. That's fine. I don't think they're going to say, well, you're spending too much time outside of the United States, therefore you're not eligible for it. No, that's not what the rules and regulations says. You cannot spend 29 days consecutive outside the United States. They do not say anything about you come in and you cannot, in a year, make 6 trips, for example, outside of the United States. That's less than 30 days. They're not saying you can't do that. So knowing the regulation, knowing what to do and what not to do is vitally important. 305-945-1580, 305-945-1580. 305 945 1580. 305 945 1580. Now, here's something else with the little time that we have for this English version show of Source of Information. The other thing that I would like to concentrate on very shortly with the time that we have left. Another call that I had was, actually I spoke with this gentleman in person. And he was at the clinic, stopped me and said, Gilbert, I need your help with something. Well, this gentleman apparently has a kid that when he went back to Haiti and had a child there. And when he told me that, I was excited for him. Obviously, you have a child. Well, I said, well, automatically that child's become a U.S. citizen. This is the process that you have to do, and there's an application that you have to fill out. And with that application, send the fee, immediately make a passport for the kid, get a Social Security number. And the next first thing you have to do is go to the Social Security office and apply, not apply, but open an account, a different account for that child. And from your benefits, they will deposit, depending on where you are, how much you're making, they will deposit roughly about $450 for that child, up to the age of 18 or 19, depending if they are continue in school. Now, I did the math recently in one of the shows that we did, and if you take that amount without you taking anything from it, just leave it there, it's going to amount to $94,700. Now, we're not even taking into consideration any cost of living adjustment that possibly could happen within that time. So if you were taking a cost of living adjustment in the last 2 years, which is about 15%, so you could add another 15% to that amount, the $94,700, that will put the total amount to well over $100,000. So imagine having $100,000 sitting in an account, and that child. And if the child's in the United States, obviously that they'll get grant. They'll get grant. They don't have to borrow any money for college because you've already established that for them. So they could go and take that money, pay off their college, pay off their tuitions, buy school, and if they staying in in a dorm pay their living the living space. So that's something for you guys to be mindful of, especially if you have a child in a later date. Because as we getting in the later date, the shorter the time span, the shorter the time is. And if you could start ahead, you don't know how long you have, but you know how much time that you have spent on this earth, but you don't know how much time you have left. So take advantage of it. That information, that although we did it in 3 minutes, that information I make that 4 minutes. That information, I thought it was vital for you guys to have that information. So if you're in that position, and if you're in that position, for you to start acting on that. And listen, I've always encouraged you guys to share the information that you're receiving here with a friend, with a family member, because as long that we stay well informed, that we're going to stay powerful. So imagine, I remember I was reading on Twitter, Facebook, on Twitter. It was Benjamin Crump, this famous lawyer, activist, and he was astonished the fact that I believe a lot of people was not aware of what they call it escaped me. There are benefits for children who lost their parents up to a certain age. They could get their benefits up to a certain age also, and I forgot the term for now. And they will receive an amount every month up to 18 and 19, depending if they're in school. And the spouse also will be receiving that same benefit. Okay? So a lot of people was not aware of that type of benefits, whether it's available or not. So we want to continue bringing those type of information for you. We have our first call. Hello, you on the air. Hello, you on the air.
Yeah, this is Dr. Semilus.
Dr. Semilus,
Yes.
stay tuned for us. Well, it's time for us to go. Listen, it was a pleasure for me to bring you this information. Stay tuned. We're going to come back next with the Creole version of this show, but it's going to be on a different topic. My name is Gilbert Franklin. It was a pleasure to be with you this afternoon. You could always reach me at 954-667-4885, 954-667-4885. I love you guys. See you soon. Bye.